friends. This is Anne at the Fiber, Floss, and Fiction podcast. Today is Saturday, the 29th of June, 2019. This video is going to be slightly different than my normal every 2-week update. This is going to be just focused on stitching. So I'm going to do a WIP parade of my current works in progress, and then I will do sort of a planning video. It's not exactly for 2020 yet, but it's definitely in that vein. So if you're here for the normal bi-weekly update, that will happen next week, and so look for that then. So no books, no knitting, no reading, other stuff like that. Today's video is just going to be on the stitching. So if that's your jam, go get something to drink and come on back and join me with a project. And if it's not your jam, then I will see you next time. So I have a whole bunch of stuff. I have a whole bin on this side of me that are plans and things I have kitted up. You might remember that I'm doing No Starts 2019, which I've been really pretty good about this year. The only things that I have started are things that I had said were possible starts that I had sort of grandfathered myself in. That was a club of ornaments, and I haven't even really started any of those recently. So what I'm going to show you are all of the things that I'm currently working on. I'm going to talk a little bit about a few things that are in the UFO pile. I have my notes down here, which is what I'm looking at, and then we're going to move on to things that I'm thinking about starting next year that I have kitted up and ready to go. So I have most of my projects living in this, which I think pretty much sums it up for all of us, does it not? These are really not going to be in any kind of order. I'm just going to show them to you. I will endeavor to tell you the information about the fabric that they're on, if I have that in front of me. If not, and there's something specific you want to know, please leave me a comment below, and I'm always glad to answer questions down the road. So let's get started with the project that I'm actually working on right now, since it's on the top of my stack. This is Joan Elliott's Autumn Fairy. I am stitching this on, oops, as I drop my floss on the floor, sorry. I am stitching this on a Chromatic Alchemy fabric. It is a 28 count even weave. It was one of the club fabrics from her about a year ago. I have the name in the other room, but it escapes me. It's something very odd that I can't remember. But anyway, here is where she is currently. I am working on this part of her hair that comes down, and we'll be working on this weekend for an ultimate challenge project. Using all the called for DMC, Kryneck, we'll put beads in eventually. Yeah, really like her on this fabric. It's subtle, but it has a little bit of modeling on it. So that is what I am currently working on as of today. Next up, let us move on to my current chatelaine. This is the Desert Mandala by Martina Rosenberg /chatelaine, available as a download from her website. I am stitching this on a Picture This Plus 28 count Lugana in the colorway Calypso. Let's see if I can get it all into the screen. Just barely. There we go. So I have reached the 2 top corners on this one, and next time it comes out, which will be in July, I'm going to work across and try to get this upper snakeskin border done, and then just work down. But I do have the center finished and the upper vignette. I am stitching this in the called for silks and DMC and petite treasure braid. I think that's all that's in this one. So I am up here, and like I said, I'm going to be working to finish this very top border. And my plan then is, since I've gotten to the top, is to go ahead and come down this way, you know, working it in this fashion. A lot to go on this, as you can plainly see. Okay, there's that one. Next up, this is Cooler Design Studios Summer Sampler, designed by Sandy Orton. You can get this from the Cooler Design Studios website, or you can get it as a PDF download from there. It is also, I believe, available on 123 Stitch as a print version. So it's kind of this vintagey, if you've seen these, there's spring, summer, winter, fall, not in that order. They're all kind of like vintage, ephemera sort of feel to them. You may remember this was a restart from earlier this year. I am working this on a 32 count even weave from XG Designs in the colorway Sand. And here is where I am on this one. I'm working on the top vignette. I actually just used this for a homework prompt. So I finished up more of the shells up here, and I worked in the vignette, and I added that shell there. Lots of back stitching in this one. This whole upper section is almost full coverage, so it's kind of a slow go, but boy, do I love how those shells look. I think they look amazing. Doing this 2/2 in the called for DMC, and I am really, really enjoying working on this one. I have a hard time putting it down, but it's not a priority right now, so I just have been pulling it out for homework things. Sorry, I think that I just have to put stuff away as I go, because if I don't, you guys, it's going to be such a mess, and I know I'm going to lose tags and thread and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, next up, Brenda Gervais, Snow for Christmas. This is the last of my Stitch 9 challenge pieces, so this will definitely be done this year. I am stitching this on a 32 count Ren linen from Picture This Plus, and I actually have quite a bit of work done on it because I worked on it for some prompts last week. I have finished the snowman and the trees on the sled. I have mostly finished the sheep. I have to finish his hooves down here and a little bit here on his face. His ear is just kind of outline stitched. And obviously I have to finish Santa's face, and there's some random snowflakes. But this one, probably with, you know, a weekend worth of work on it, I could have it finished. And so it'll be out in July, and I know I'll have it done, and I'm just going to make it into a little cushion when I'm finished. But super cute, and really enjoying this one. I am using Color and Cotton hand-dyed floss for this. Just substituting out my own colors. I'm using Victorian Motto sampler thread for the red, because I just needed a good Christmas red. I've done enough Christmassy pieces this year that I'm kind of running low on those cranberry red, holiday red colors, so that is not Color and Cotton. But that one will be done this year, and I'm looking forward to having that and my little Christmas tea one out as well. Okay, moving on. I think y'all have seen this one a gazillion times. You get to see it again. This is a stitching shelf charted by Heaven and Earth Designs with artwork by Amy Stewart. This is going to be a focus piece in July because I'm going to use it for the Tour de France challenge in the full coverage Fanatics. I am working this on 25 count Easy Guide. even weave, the pre-gridded version, and here is where I am. You guys saw this on my last update. I've finished this page, so starting in July I'm going to start the next page over, and that is where this is currently. I'll DMC just as charted, nothing crazy, because I think it's crazy enough as it is with the level of confetti in that one. Next, Village of Run Holo. I've made more progress on this year than I had originally thought I was going to, which is fantastic. You might remember I finished this block and then started and finished this block for my Stitch 9 challenge for that one of the choices that I made on that. I am working this on a 22 count hardanger from Picture This Plus. The colorway is Legacy. I am using the DMC version, not the silks. And here is where this stands. Made some more progress actually on just 100 stitches on block 6. And I've mostly mocked in block 7, 8, and 9, and then I've got 10, 11, and 12 that'll go down at the bottom there. And if you haven't watched me before, I am personalizing this with the town name and some family names from my grandmother's side of the family. So that is that project. Oops. Get this folded a little better. Okay. Crinkle, crinkle. I'm sorry, you guys. I know you can hear that. Right. Next. This is another full coverage piece that I'm working on. It is the ornament of A Long Winter's Nap, artwork by Donna Gelsinger and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am also stitching this on the 25 count Easy Guide gridded fabric, and I worked on this last weekend, I think it was. I think that's right. I actually got quite a bit done on this. This is one of the center pages, so this is kind of his stomach and the arm of his sweater, and then I'm working up here on the 1,000,001 light colors that make up his beard. Stitching that slightly differently than my other full coverage pieces, kind of working it mostly cross country with sort of my own weird hybridized version of that. Okay, next. I am working on the Dimensions Gold Collection Petites pattern called Christmas Morning Pets. This came as a kit. So I am using the 18 count Ada that it came with and the kits from the thread kits. And I worked on this quite a bit for Magical Stitches homework this week. I got a lot more done on the puppy and finished kind of the curve of the cat and started on the hat. So this is actually a good little travel project. I enjoyed working on it, and as with most of these Dimensions kits, you know, it's a gazillion more stitches than you think it's gonna be. So I felt like I got a lot done, but you know, looking at it here, it doesn't really look like there's a long way to go. There's a lot of that yellow puppy left to stitch, but it was fun. I enjoyed working on that. So that is that. Next up, this is the June Wordplay by Brenda Gervais. This is when I started last year in my crazy December starts. Don't have very much done on it, but it is started. This is on, Hang on, I've got the tag somewhere, maybe. It's a Jodrey Designs fabric. I know that much about it. And let's see the tag. It's called like Winter Sky, Winter Dawn, something like that. It's a 28 count even weave. And so I have very little done on it. I have just started one of the words to kind of get a placement started for it. We will talk a little bit more about plans and things when we get to that section. I do have quite a few of those word plays started, so you're going to see a lot of those. I started a ton of them in December and have actually finished a few, but not that one. Next up, I am stitching. This is the Mae Wordplay. And I am stitching this on, it is a 22 count Ariosa in the colorway Buttercream. No, it is not. I don't know what that tag is from. I thought it was way more organized than this. This is a picture of this plus 28 count linen in I always want to call this colorway clay, but it's not. Valor, I think it is. Anyway, again, just a teeny tiny start right there in the center for the word May. I have not touched either of those since December, as you can see. Any of the word plays that I'm doing, I am converting the called for GAST or Classic Colorworks threads to color and cotton because I have a good stash of those and I like working with them and supporting Angela. So any of those that you see, they're my conversion, my color conversion. Next up, Jim Shore's 12 Days. Dina at Half Stitch Cross Stitch is working on this and she is much farther along than I am. Hers looks amazing. I think she's down to about there on his coat and just finished a section of that. I can't remember which side she's working on. Anyway, go check out her second to last most recent video and you'll see it on there. I'm also stitching this on a 22 count hardanger. I am stitching it 1/1. It came as a kit with the threads and the fabric and I didn't love the fabric, so placed that out, but I am using the kit threads on it. And here is where he is. I'm obviously working from the top down and I've got a good amount of his face done, but the beard will be another project entirely, and the background quilt is kind of one of those, I think you just have to chip away at it. There's a lot of it. Next up, another piece that I haven't put very much, I haven't put any stitches into it since I started it, but I love it and hoping to get back to it. This is the Drawn Threads Summer Garden. So this is another seasonal set. Winter, I finished last year and is up there. I just leave it out year round because I love it, but I would also love to have seasonally appropriate gardens to put up. I am stitching this on a 32 count linen. It's Wichelt's linen, so it's super stiff, but I do like the pretty neutral color called French Lace. And that's all I've got done on it. It's the very peak of the house. I'm starting in the center on this one. And yeah, I have no plans to get to that this year, but I really would like to if I can figure out a way to sneak it in for maybe a homework prompt or something like that. I'm gonna try. Using the called for, am I using the called for? I don't think I am actually. I'm subbing in my own colors from a mixture of GAST and color and cotton. for this. Pretty much I'm a sucker for seasonal things. I love having new stuff out for the change of the seasons. Well, new meaning like every season it changes. That's something that I'm working towards having a mix of those different projects, either for the months or for the seasons. I love marking the seasons with that. August Wordplay, also Brenda Gervais. And I am stitching this one on the other scrap of that color I think I want to call clay, but I think is Valor from Picture This Plus. So again, just have time done in the center there when I started it back in December. Okay. You might remember I finished up one of the 2 Prairie Schoolers I was working on earlier this year. I am currently working on Autumn Leaves. I'm doing the longer piece right here. And I'm stitching this on a Zweigart linen. It's a 36 count linen in the colorway Winter Moon, and I'm using color and cotton threads for this one. And here is where I am on it. Love how the variegation is coming out up here in the letters and here in the leaves. Stitching this 2/2. Probably put that into an updated project bag now that I have a few empty ones. Oops. Okay, next up, another Joan Elliott. This is Winter Fairy. I do have all 4 of these fairies, and you saw Autumn Fairy. I also have Winter Fairy started. At some point, I will get to Summer and Spring. But for now, working on that one. I am working on this on a piece of hand-dyed color and cotton even weave. This is from her July 2017 club. It doesn't have a specific name, it's just July 2017. And here's where this beautiful lady is. She is also coming out in July for a couple of extra credit prompts, so I will be enjoying working on her and all of those nice icy cold colors. Again, I'm trying to backstitch as I go. The Joan Elliott pieces just have a lot of backstitching, and I don't mind doing backstitching, but I like to do it as I go, because then I feel like I'm kind of finishing the piece as I go down and not having to go back when I'm finished and pick much up. I am not doing the beading yet, so I will wait and do that at the end, but as far as backstitching goes, I'm doing that as I'm doing the actual cross stitches. Next, this is a project which is a pattern from Brooke's books called The Spirit of Evergreen. It's part of her holiday angel fairy ornaments. I actually have the whole set I bought. They were 50% off at one point. Brooke had a sale, and so I picked them up. Some of which I like better than others, but these are all done on perforated paper. She does have instructions in the pattern for you to do them as a just regular cross stitch on fabric, but I wanted them to be more dimensional, so I'm opting to do them on the perforated paper. And I don't have a ton done on this one. I have, that's not going to help y'all, is it? I have most of her hair started. Again, started this last year in December. This is another one of those pieces that is, oh, let me show you this if I can get it out. I also have started one of her wings, and that's the right side. The outline for one of her wings. which is in, no, Kryneck. Nope, Petite Treasure Braid, I think. Sorry, obviously I haven't worked on it in a while, y'all, and I can't remember. Kryneck. There's lots of Kryneck in her. Have not worked on this except I think one day maybe since last December. At some point I would like to do them all and have a tree or a garland that has them on it, but obviously you see how fast I'm getting that one done, so not this year. Okay, next. This is another drawn thread project. This is, let me take it out of the bag. I know they'll be crinkling, but it will be easier for you to see everything. This is Welcome Summer. Again, I have the whole seasonal series. I finished Welcome Fall or Welcome Autumn, I can't remember which they designated as, last year. So I have that one finished and I have it out, you know, to display. And this is all that I have done on it so far, just that one. It's the beginning of the W. This is on a 28 count linen, and I think it's a something I got in a stitchy box. Yeah, but I can't remember the name of the color. I'm 99% sure it's a witch elt fabric because it's kind of stiff and see-through. On the other half of it, I am putting the November Wordplay. Love that turkey. Can't wait to do that. And I have the words started for pumpkin pie. Also doing both of these with the Color and Cotton hand-dyed floss. Those will both be little cushions when I'm done working on this. All right, maybe halfway through, guys. So you hanging in there. Pause it if you need to go, you know, bio break or more coffee. Another drawn thread. This is also from their Welcome series. I am a little bit farther along on this one. This is their Welcome Spring. Bunnies. I am stitching this on a 32 count antique white even weave. I'm using, again, Color and Cotton hand-dyed floss, and I have started the C in the middle, and it has some little odd grok on it. That is where that one is. So as you can see, I have a fair number of things that I started in my December starts before No Starts 19 that really could use some work. On the other hand, I have gotten several things finished, so it's all a balance, right? You can only stitch on what you can stitch on. Next project is another one that you guys have seen fairly recently. This is my Celtic Wheel out of the Joan Elliott collection, Bewitching Cross Stitch. It is a square piece that will look like that when it's finished. So it's the 8 Celtic festivals. And here's the book cover for those of you who have not tuned in before. I am stitching this on a 32 count even weave from Color and Cotton called Sampler Gold, which is one of my just all-time favorites. I think it's perfect for like a parchment type color on the even weave. And I'm stitching this using the called for DMC. This, if you may remember from my last video, is going to be kind of a focus piece for me for the rest of the year. So wherever I can fit it in for homework or extra credit projects, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And after I get through some things in July in July. This will kind of get pushed up to the top of the queue, so I'll try to at least get a full weekend in on it every month between now and the end of the year. I don't think I'll get it finished, but I want to get some really good progress on it. All right, another drawn thread. This is another one of their welcome pieces. This is Welcome Winter. And I am stitching this. It's actually on a scrap of the same Zweigart linen, 28 count linen, which I never can remember the name of. It's like pearly gray, gray pearl, something like that. So this is just a little cutoff piece, but it's plenty long, narrow and skinny, so I can use it for another one of these little cushions. And that is what I have gotten done. I've actually stitched on this year. I added the scarf and finished the W and the E. So that is where that little guy is. I always joke that I spent so much time with my grandparents who were products of the Depression that I just cannot throw away perfectly good fabric, especially if I know I'm gonna be sewing around the edges and I don't need, you know, I mean, having an inch here at the top is plenty to sew that. It's just, I can't bear to throw away the fabrics. If I feel like I could stitch on them, you know, I feel like I should just go ahead and use them. All right, this next set is actually 4 pieces. These are all by Brenda Gervais. They are her Summer Schoolhouse collection. And there's a set of 4, and I'm doing them all on a 28 count. It's just an off-white Monaco. So here are the designs. This is number 1. This set is number 2. This one is number 3. And this is number 4. And they're all teeny tiny. They're done 1/1 on a 36 count. You can see the finished versions here where they're in their little box. There's also this pattern and the strawberry pattern, but I'm just doing this for right now. And I have started all 4 of them on the same piece of fabric. And again, I'm just gonna make little cushions out of them. So I didn't need a ton of space to do that, but you can see there's almost nothing done on any of these. This is 1, 2, no, I'm sorry, this is 1 and 4. And down here I have 2 and 3 started. I'm using a mix of Gentle Arts and Color and Cotton on this. Again, these are being done 1/1 and have not touched them since December. However, they will get worked on at some point. And I do love working on them. They're not something I can pick up really easily and just put a few stitches into. I kind of have to have good light and my magnifier light. Oh, excuse me. All right, this is a Heaven and Earth design. It is Winter's Encounter. It's the mini version. Artwork by Laura Prindle and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm doing this on my usual full coverage, 25 count, 1/1. And excuse the hanging threads because I'm in the middle of a block. Here's where she stands. Oh, so you can actually see it. So this is almost the bottom of the first page, or bottom of the first column. I have that much left. You can see where I've marked it. And I've gotten started on the branches and this little bird's wing that's in the it's a little chickadee here. So I'm working this one this way in the diagonal blocks. So one of my goals for this year is to finish up this page. which I think I can do. I just, you know, have to get it out and stitch on it. But I love that one, and now that I remember where I am on it, I kind of feel like I should pull that out today and work on it, but not today. I'm trying to get an ultimate challenge done on the Fall Fairy, so this one will have to wait a little bit. Okay, this one's a little bit different than the others. I have worked on this year. This is a kit from the biweekly.com that my nephews got me for Christmas 2 Christmases ago. And this is a piece of the Bayou Tapestry. So this is Harold and his hunting falcon and his destrier. And it is worked in the Bayou stitch, so it's not traditional cross stitch, but it is still embroidery. It's worked on linen with wool threads. And this past, I hauled this out for a homework prompt, and I got started on the horse's head. And you can see I've got the couching done on it, this part of his head, and I've got the long stitches done on his neck. I have to go back in and couch those down. And then I also worked on his tunic overcoat piece here and did a little bit more of the back stitching, and then his reins. So working on that in bits and bobs. Next up, the July wordplay from Brenda Gervais again. Told you there was a bunch of these. There are. I'm doing this on a 22 count Ariosa. This is the 22 count Ariosa in buttercream that I have the tag for in one of those other project bags. And I started on the waves. Again, have not touched this since December. Stitching this 2/2 using color and cotton hand-dyed floss. Okay. So I think I've got like 5 left. When I get done those, I'm going to take a quick break, pack these up so I have some space on the table, and then we'll talk plans. So let's finish these last 5 up pretty straightforwardly. I think they're 5. I don't think I have other ones doubled up in the bags. December wordplay. 32 count. Picture this plus. Again, I don't have the tag on this. I have all this written down. Nope, here I do. This is Valor. So that other color must be something else. Is it doubloon? I don't know. The color I always call clay is not Valor. This is Valor. I have started on the Santa. That is all I have done. I know, amazing, really. I'm not even sure that's the way it goes. Yeah, actually, I think it is. So there's that one. Not a ton done on it. I do have a spreadsheet that I have all of the information about the threads and the count and what the colorway is and all of that, but like I said, if there's something that you have a burning desire to know what that colorway is, just ask me and I will dredge it up off my computer. Another full coverage design, this is Heaven and Earth's Which Way. This is also the mini, artwork by Molly Harrison. And I actually am in a pretty good spot on this one. I have gotten the top 2 pages done. There is a 3rd page and a little bit. I think it's like a column and a half. So I'm past the halfway point on the top row. I finished that up. Was it February? I think it was February. So I have no plans to work on her again this year, but if I have a homework prompt that's just perfect, you know, I may haul it out. I'm running out of things like with graveyards and whatnot in them, and there's a lot of graveyards in Harry Potter, and this has the graveyards in it, so if I need her, I'll pull her out to use, but no specific plans to do that. Stay. Oh, we'll come back to this one, because that's a maybe project. Okay. This is another Heaven and Earth Designs. This is Eternia by Amy Stewart. It's the quick stitch version that I had them crop down. This is a massive piece in real life, and all it is sky and trees, and then there's this little vignette of the woman and her horse, which is actually what I loved. And I decided to crop it down even further after I got the quick stitch, because the quick stitch version is still 18 by 16, which is not small. And really all I care about is the woman and her horse, right? So I cropped it down even more to about there, I think, and there. And I'm doing this on, I'm removing the background as I go, so I am stitching this on a 28 count Lugana in the colorway Haunted by Picture This Plus. So instead of stitching all of the gloomy sky, I'm just gonna let that fabric take care of it. And I am doing this in a completely weird way, but it's a way that my brain seems to understand. So I have her face done, and there's her hand up on the horse's neck, and you can see her hair up here. Not very much done on this. It's one of those that, because of how I'm stitching it, like I have to sit down and really remember where I am, and then need to spend some time on it. I can't just put like 200 stitches in it. That just doesn't, it's not that kind of a project. So I will get back to that one, but it has not been a focus this year because it's a little bit harder to do, but I love how it's coming out, so it'll be worth it in the end. All right, and then this last one is the April Wordplay. I'm stitching this on a 22 count Ariosa in the colorway Antiqued. These are by Garibaldi's Needleworks. And I have this one, maybe a third finished. Stitching this 2/2. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than my other ones, which is okay. I've got the wagon done, and I started on the daffodil stems, started the words. I've got the bunnies, dungarees started. So farther along on that one than I think any of the other ones that are still in progress pieces. Again, doing that with color and cotton hand-dyed floss. Oh, I'll pick that up in a second. Okay, that's all I have in the bin of things that are active WIPs. When I come back, we're going to talk about some plans and some inactive WIPs and talk about things going forward. So you guys hold on for just literally a second. I will be right back. Okay, so we're back. So now going forward, I wanted to talk to you all about some things I have planned as starts for next year. Things I have kitted up or collected pieces of, and talk to you all about what I'm thinking about doing for next year. Now, some of this will be dependent on what groups like School of Magical Stitches and Literature will have a different theme next year than Harry Potter. Don't know what that is yet. May or may not choose to participate in it depending on what it is. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Twilight series, so if they pick that, I'm probably not going to participate, or at least won't participate reading those books. So I've been tossing around some ideas and thinking about how I wanted to approach some things. I don't know how many of you followed Gem Stitch. She has her floss tube channel. one of the ways that she's been approaching dealing with her WIPs is she's divided them into kind of rotation categories. And so, for instance, she has like a seasonal piece that she works on that's appropriate to the season. So spring, summer, whatever. She has a really big project that she works on that's kind of her focus piece. I think she has a small that she does. She has one that's kind of like a classic or biblical reference piece. So I've toyed with that to some extent. I think I may have too many categories to do that well with, but I had looked at having a rotation that included a chatelaine, full coverage, another big ass project that wasn't either of those things, a fancy lady, a small, and a seasonal / holiday type piece. And that would work out to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be 6 categories a month. So, I mean, I could do 5 days on any one project, but again, not knowing how things are going to shake out and whether there's homework I'm going to need or want to do, I'm still not sure how I want to approach that. I do know that I have a lot of large projects that I'm looking at starting next year, and so I need to figure out a way to do mostly my stitching on large projects and not so much stitching where I focus on smalls, because while it does get the smalls finished and I do want to have some finishes, I'm never going to get the big projects finished unless I focus on them the way I focused on Stargazer this past year. So, you know, she was a big project and I thought, gosh, I wonder how long it will take me to finish her. But really, once I started focusing on her, she was like a 4.5 month project. That really wasn't that bad. And I stitched on other things. She just was the thing every time I had a chance to pull her out and work on her, I did. So within the bounds of that, I also may have some other full coverage projects that are looming on the horizon. I'm not totally sure if I feel comfortable starting one of those until I get some other ones finished. Now, those of you who've been watching me for a while know there are 2 other full coverage projects which I have not mentioned as an active WIP, and I have put those in kind of timeout until I decide what I want to do. Those are my 6 of Swords. That's what this one looks like. Stephanie Law artwork, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I've got a page finished and I've started the second page. And the other one is a piece called Lady of the Woods, which I started in December. And this is all I have done on it. Really like the colors. So let me just tell you my hesitation about these 2. I love the theme that's in 6 of Swords, but I don't know that I love the color palette. It's pretty somber, and I'm not sure it's totally me. I have a couple other Stephanie Law ones that I might be more interested in doing, so if that's the case, I may call that a give up and move on to something else of hers. I haven't fully decided on either one of these. I'm just talking out loud to y'all right now. Lady of the Woods, I love the colors. I love all the animals in it. The thing that has always tripped me up about this one, and I unfortunately did not bring the cover photo for that, but I'll put a link down below. You can look it up on the Heaven and Earth Design site. I don't love the face of the central figure, which is human. I love all the animals. I don't love her, but she's the focal point of that piece of artwork. So if I don't love it, I kind of feel like with a full coverage design, I should not spend my time working on it because there are so many other ones I do love and I would want to put the stitches into. So if y'all have deep thoughts about that, sing out, let me know. So let's talk a little bit about what I've got picked for next year. And again, you guys will see these are all pretty big projects. The first is a piece that my husband really liked the artwork, and it's a Dimensions Gold piece. You know, those take a while. It reminds him of his winters in northern Michigan, which is where he spent his vacations with the Canadian geese coming in. So kind of different than anything I've done before, certainly in this go round of stitching, but yeah, it's 16 by 12. It's not massive. It's not massive like a Heaven and Earth design, but it, you know, it's plenty big. So I have the kit, obviously. So I think I'm going to start this for him sometime next year and work on that. Let's see. Next up, so I didn't bring them all, but I have a fair number of Mill Hill ornaments. I do want to do this one next year, which is the match to the one I finished this year. That's the dog, the puppy with Santa. So I do want to do this one, so I have a set on the tree of one cat, one dog. So, I mean, this is a pretty small piece. At some point next year, I will start this as well. I have a whole bunch of their other Santas, a couple from the Celtic Santas, Southwest Santas, and what's the other ones I have? Oh, the National Parks Santas, which I like, and at some point we'll start those as well. Okay, so I have two sets of Blackbird design patterns that I am waffling back and forth with doing. Y'all know that Jessie Marie talked about Anniversaries of the Heart. Cozy Egg is working on hers. She's down to the last double block and then the one single block she's working on right now. So she wants to try to finish that by the end of the summer. I love it. It's amazing. My hesitation with this is pattern 4 or pattern 5 out of the set is pretty hard to find. I do not have a copy of it. I have everything else, but I don't have that one. So if I did this one, and I've tentatively talked to Jessie about doing a start along together at some point next year, and I would want to do these all on one piece, I'd either have to find said chart number 5 or replace it with something of a similar size or rejigger the blocks so that it would work out without block number 5. That bothers my OCD a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyway, so I've got all of those here. I'm not sure if these are still in order, but 2, yep, 3, sorry for the glare, 4, 7, somewhere. Obviously 5 is not here. These rest are out of order. There is 6. Here's 6. 6. 7, which I just showed you incorrectly. 8. 9. I think this is one of my favorites with that butterfly. 10. 11. And 12. And then it has the double block. So, like I said, I may try to figure out a way to do it slightly differently where not having block 5 isn't a big deal. But I need to spend some time thinking over that. So that's going to go on one piece of fabric, and I was thinking it would be kind of a nice companion piece to Village of Hawk Run Holo. Do it with some family personalization. Now I'm torn about this one because this is the Blackbird Designs Garden Club series. I do have all of these. And Nikki over at Nikki Crafts just finished hers on a 36 count using the called for threads, and it is amazing. She did it all in one piece. I love it. I love the clear colors in it. It's just really striking. So I'm torn because it's like, do I need another full-size piece of the Blackbird Designs patterns? Would it be better to do these all as smalls? Because, you know, they'd be fun to have out, right? And they're all a little bit different That's actually a double one, so you could do it as 2 separate ones if you wanted. There's another one like that. Love that butterfly. You could also do that as 2 separate ones if you wanted. As well as that one. So I was thinking maybe I should just start these and do them all as smalls. Like I could use the same or very similar fabric and keep all of the colors as called for, not do a conversion on them, just use what is called for, so I get those pretty pinks and blues and greens. Because really, do I need 2 samplers that are about the same size? Probably not. But I love these, and the Garden Club series, just every single one of these reminds me of my grandmother, so kind of want to stitch those for her. So again, if you have any thoughts, feedback on that, should I do this as one big piece, knowing that I'm gonna start the Anniversaries of the Heart? Should I do these all as smalls but make them match? Should I just do them as I do them? Give me your thoughts. Okay, we'll come back to those. This one you've kind of seen my thought process on this year. I know this is another massive one. I'm reading the Prior of the Orange Tree right now, and it's all about alchemy and finding the elixir for eternal life, which I am going to need. Long Dug Samplers, The Pilgrim. Very excited to start this one. I love it even more than Death by Cross Stitch or Life After Death. This is the one that I purchased fabric for, excuse the crinkling, when I was at Stitch Shenanigans in Arizona at the attic. This is a 36 count. Oh, is it butternut? Pretty sure it's butternut. Totally outside my normal comfort zone for like a thing I would pick. Yep, butternut by Crossed Wing. 36 count linen, and I'm using Silks for You. That is what I'm going to stitch it with. Yeah, very excited to start this one. I think about this one all the time. It's like, I just can't even stop myself. Okay, then, sorry, kind of trying to sort a little bit as I go. I wanted to start the Victoria's Samplers Jingle Bells Christmas Tree Farm. Leah Noel over at Aviatrix Stitcher started this year. I have not stitched a Victorian sampler before, but I really like this one. I like the little vignettes, and I do have a fabric I want to use with it. It is Color and Cotton's 32 count Jobelin in Spellbook, which I think will be great as the background fabric. It's pretty similar. I don't have any of the flosses or any of the other bits and bobs involved with it, but do want to start that next year. You know, it's another tiny project. I also want to start Glendon Place's Sleepy Hollow. For those of you that don't know what that one looks like. Christine at Stitch All the Things finished hers, and she brought that to Stitch Shenanigans, and oh my, I loved it. I was like, I have to start that. I loved it already because obviously I owned it, and I had gotten it off of a D-Stash as sort of a partial kit, so it came with the fabric, which is Picture This Plus 32 count Haunted. And it came with the beads and the Petite Treasure braid, or the Kryneck, excuse me, and the one skein of silk that does the moon. And then the rest I think is just DMC. But I really loved hers because of the frame that she picked. It had skulls on it, and it was a really dark, creepy wood. I loved it. So that's getting started next year. Hang on one second, because I just dropped stuff on the floor. Like I said, once stuff gets separated, I'll never find it again. Okay, next in the bin that will not end. I want to start this kit, which is an older one I got a while ago off of eBay at a really good price from Busilla. I'm not sure if it's discontinued, but I love this summery one. It's just all about bees, which I love. Now, it does come with Ada and the flosses in here, so it's a kit. I think I may be replacing the fabric. I don't love it. And there's a fair amount that you would see in here. So yeah, I may replace it with something else. There is, however, a fair amount of full coverage in this one. It's not truly full coverage because, like I said, this part in here is not stitched, but there's a lot of it that is. So need to go through kind of and look at my stash and see what I've got that it would work okay with. Then I want to start, and I want to do this before my eyes completely fail. Is that sad? I don't know, but there it is. It is Northern Expressions Needleworks Celtic Snow, and I think Darling Bluebell had this out as a possible start at some point. I don't think she started it, but I want to start it next year, and I have it all kitted up. I have the original fabric that it calls for, which is hand-dyed by Stephanie's 32 count linen in the winter solstice colorway, and it is really a dark blue. So I know this will be one that needs to get worked on in good light, like Stargazer was. So I have all the dinky dye silks and the beads to stitch it with. I just gotta stitch it. You know, I say that like it's a zippy thing. Okay, next let's talk some chatelaines. I have had kitted up, which I bought thinking I might start it before I started Desert Mandala, and then being me, I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna start the big one. This cute little mystery Mandala 3 with the like medieval town and this beautiful blue, cobalt blue center. This isn't very big. I showed it to my husband and he said, I could make you a box that would sit as the top. Okay, I said, but I have to stitch the top. What's the final size? So it's 6.5 by 6.5 on 16 count 2/2. So it's not super big. But I went ahead and I had ordered the kit from European Cross Stitch. So it comes with a really basic winter white Zweigart linen. And then it comes with all of the silks, and the beads are in here too in these little plastic containers. So yes, it's a chatelaine, but it's not a super big chatelaine, right? That seems sensible. So I wanted to start that thinking, well, if I finished it, it would be great. Then he could build me the box when he's home from change of station, right? I'll have this finished next year. I know I will. I can actually. Okay, but then the other chatelaine I want to start next year is Scotland Mandala. I told my husband that I wanted to stitch this, and I was trying to budget from Stitch from Stash, and he was like, my gift to you, darling, just order it. And it's from me for our anniversary, which was actually back in March. We didn't go to Scotland until May, but March wasn't convenient and probably not as good weather. So this is another chatelaine mandala. I am going to be working it on Picture This Plus 28 count Lugana in the colorway Arctic, which I like because it's kind of lightly mottled greeny gray color, which I think reminds me of the stones, and I think this will look really good on it with all the castles. And then back at the beginning of May, actually just before we left for Scotland, I got the pack from European Cross Stitch. So it comes with the beads. This is not as I don't think this is as heavy a beaded piece as some of her other ones, but all of the beads, and then I also got all of the silks. Lots of green, as you might imagine. So I think I have shown remarkable restraint not starting this, frankly, because I've had it now for a little over a month and I have not started it. So I'm saying go me. But you know that's getting started next year. There's just no way not. So there's that. Next up, let's talk about Teresa Wensler. I have stitched a Teresa Wensler, but it was long ago, like when I was first cross-stitching, and I didn't know that I probably wasn't skilled enough to stitch it, but I stitched it anyway. So I found this kit on eBay because I went looking for the pattern first. And I haven't seen many people stitch this, but I love it. It's called Companions, and it's this horse and St. Nicholas. It's not super, super huge. I mean, you know, it's a good size, but it's 8 by 13 and a half, basically, on 32 count stitched 2/2. And the kit came with this antique white linen, 32 count linen, which is what it's called for. And then the person, I don't know if it's the person I bought it from, but someone arranged everything onto project cards for me already. So all the floss is already sorted. Not sure if they had it kitted up or it came as a kit or whatever. Not totally in love with the linen, so I may substitute something else. I mean, it doesn't take that big a piece, but so I have this, and I think Dina of Half Stitch Cross Stitch and I are going to do at least a casual Teresa Wensler start and stitch along. The only other project that I still have in my stash, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I had all of her carousel horses, and I sold them because I thought, oh, I'm not going to stitch them. Probably would stitch them now, but at any rate, the only other one that I had was the Fantasy Sampler, which I like and maybe will stitch someday, but I think I would rather stitch this one first because it's kind of more me, because it has a horse in it, and we all know how I feel about that. So that one's going to get started next year. Okay, finally, let's talk really quick about Nora Corbett's and Mirabilia's. So I think I mentioned that when I finished Stargazer, I thought, when I first got back into stitching again, I thought I'm never going to stitch a Mirabilia. I don't like them. And then I got Stargazer because that was kind of the one I did like. And then having stitched it, now I want to stitch all of them. Not going to start all of them next year, but I do have a fair number of them in stash now. I am going to stitch, this is a for sure. This is a Nora Corbett, it's Halloween Fairy. Stephanie at Ms. Oh So Crafty stitched this one, and it came out amazing. I love her version. And this is not a huge one. It's basically 7.5 by 11.5 if you use 32 count. So comparatively speaking, it's a small piece. I haven't picked a fabric for it yet, although the new color and cotton linen that I just got, I have to check the count on it, called Luna, I think might be perfect for this. I don't have anything else kitted up, no beads, no whatevers, but I do have the pattern, which I downloaded from Hirschner's maybe? I bought it online. Obviously, this is a downloaded copy. So that is getting started next year. Then I have narrowed down the other Mirabilia I want to start field into a slightly small group. So I will probably put this to a vote when I get ready to start, but at least for now, let me show you what I kind of have as options. And if you have a strong opinion about any of them, sing out. This is Ella the Frog Princess. Love this one. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do her on this fabric, which is a 32 count Murano in the colorway Amterine from Chromatic Alchemy. I think there's enough yellow between her dress and then her skin that the little bits of those rosier colored flowers will still show up okay. And I have the bead pack for that already. So she is basically ready to go. I have the Forest Goddess. And I'm thinking about stitching that on this 32 count Murano in the colorway Belladonna. Also chromatic alchemy fabric. Not 100% sure I will, but I think there's enough blue-green in this that if I stitch the yellows and yellow-greens in this, it will still show up. Do not have beads or anything yet for this one other than just a possible fabric, but I have other fabric choices. I just had pulled that one as a possible. Thinking about stitching these two, which are the Bliss Fairy and the Petal Fairy, facing each other like that, as a single one, because these are smaller pieces and a little less complex, on this Rosewater from Color and Cotton. It is a 32 count Lugana. So this I mean there's technically two, but I would consider this kind of one start because I can fit both of them on this. And then finally, I'm sure that Lisa over at Lisa Stitching and such is going to say, no, don't do it. The skin will kill you. Shakespeare's Fairies. This one is a much bigger piece. It's, you know, not speed dating. But I have this fabric picked out for it, which is a 32 count Crystal Da Vinci. I think you can see the sparkle. Crystal Lugana in the colorway Da Vinci from Picture This Plus that I think these would look really fun on. And I also have the embellishment bead pack on that one. So I don't have one of those picked, but one of those is going to get started next year, and that is my short list for the Mirabilias that I want to start. If I do all of that, I think I will be set for projects to work on from now until, let's say, the end of the next decade and maybe a little bit further. Next year, I know that I'm going to still try to continue to focus on a stitching shelf. I want to get a good chunk of that done next year. I'm going to look at the numbers closer to the end of the year and see, but that'll still be a focus. As well as my other two main full coverage pieces, which are Winter's Encounter and Which Way, which you just saw in my WIPs video. Like I said, the Six of Swords piece and the Lady of the Woods piece are both going to be on an indefinite hold. I haven't decided how I'm going to start my starts. I'm not sure. I think I have about 12 that I want to start, if I remember my list correctly. Believe it or not, that's like only 12. There'll only be one of those 4 Mirabilias that I showed you other than the Halloween Fairy. So I think I'm at about 12, and this wouldn't count any smalls, other smalls or anything that I start in terms of like small ornaments or that kind of thing. So I'm tending to lean towards maybe starting one a month and then putting a full week in on it so that I get some good progress and then still can work on other things. I go back and forth between whether I should like try to sort of not bang through, but focus on and get all of those, like all of the word plays and the little pieces that I've got started already, like focus on those and get them done. But like I said before, there's no way that the bigger pieces, of which I'm adding at least 12, are gonna get done unless they get some really good focus time. So I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Do you think it would be good to get down to less WIPs but have a lot of big ones? Or do you think it would be good to kind of leave those smalls in rotation so that maybe I try to finish one every couple of months, or yeah, let me know what you think. I think I am going to try to do Stitch from Stash again next year. I obviously have a lot of stash I can stitch from, so I don't think that's an issue. But you know, I know realistically, like a stitching shelf, that massive full coverage piece isn't going to get finished next year. My numbers were saying 13 years if I work at my current pace. So yeah, that's not next year. So I do have a lot of big things that I want to start. I have a few things I want to set some really specific goals on, but try to look at the big picture and not say, oh yeah, I'm going to get, you know, these 3 things, big things finished. But like, for instance, Run Holo, maybe I can say I'm going to finish 2 more blocks or 3 more blocks of that in 2020. Then, you know, get that a little bit closer. And just know that it's going to be a couple of years before I finish it, which is okay. I'm not in a rush to finish that. There's no deadline on it. I have really enjoyed stitching on a whole bunch of different things this year, which I didn't think I would. I did not think I would like switching up so much for homework, but what I'm really realizing is, you know, 200 stitches, even if you do 200 stitches on a project, but you work on it every single week, you still see progress on it. For the bigger projects, if you can put 500 stitches or 1,000 stitches into something, that is a good chunk. Does it mean it gets finished right then? Usually not. If you can put in 500 to 1,000 stitches on a regular basis on it, though, yes, absolutely, that does mean it gets finished. So I know this is the age-old question with everybody who watches FlossTube. It's, you know, how do I handle my rotation, and what projects do I focus on, and how do I focus on those projects so that I don't get burned out, because that's a thing, but also how do I see progress, because that's also a thing. And I think I said this to Leah Noel, which was, I don't think I'm either a process or a project stitcher. I am a progress type stitcher. So hey, you know what, give me a checklist like I developed I put in my stitching journal for the extra credit projects, and I can check those off. Man, I can be completely focused on that. Turn me loose, you know. 500 stitches, great, I'm going to work on that. 500 stitches, great, going to work on that. So I think the key for me is going to be to figure out how to continue to be motivated, where I put together a list and say, you know, there's some things I'm not going to focus on right now, and I am going to focus on these things. And when I can put the stitches into them in amongst homework and focus on them, here's another 500, here's a weekend I do 1,000, here's 200 more, know that I am going to be able to get through those projects. And maybe toss in some tiny decision app help along the way to keep me on the straight and narrow if I need it. So all right, this is gonna go on plenty long enough. This is in the epic proportions, video of epic proportions category. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Hopefully I haven't been too rambly. And like I said at the beginning, if there's other information you want on fabric or a pattern or how I'm stitching it, whatever, that I didn't mention or was unclear, please just leave me a comment below. I will be glad to get back with you on that. And look for my next regular kind of update video in another week. And so I hope that you guys are having a great end to your June and that you enjoyed this little trip through parts of my stash. Y'all take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.